Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. I've had some time to think over the past few days because, holidays are relatively boring. And I suddenly realized the dynamic that upsets so many people and the reason for it. We've seen complaints all over the place. Oh, people are busy with their heads stuck in their phones and, ignoring the world around them. And you know what? I'm partially sympathetic to that. My little girl has had friends come over and they're sitting there on their phones. Fortunately, I'm young enough that I remember when video games and stuff first came out. And to our parents, it looked like, oh, they're spending all their time looking in front of the TV. No, we were playing video games. We would watch TV too. It's not like one replaced the other, but that was the focus, was there was interaction there. It's just they couldn't understand it. And the modern, oh, they're staying on their phones all day, is a reflection of the power dynamic from the 60s and 70s, probably going back about 100 years before that. Let me paint you a picture. Medium-sized town, people have a decent income, and it's early in the morning. Now, what would the father, and I say father on purpose, be doing? Sitting at the table, drinking his coffee, with his paper out in front of him, blocking everybody out. And of course, when the kids would come up, Daddy, Daddy, and they'd flick down one side of the paper, look over to the side. Can I have $5, $10, whatever it was for a school trip, whatever it is that day? And they'd still be there behind their personal shield. Now that was a sign of luxury. They could afford a newspaper. I have no doubt the women of that period read the newspaper when the men were done. Probably was an essential part of their day. But I remember that because my grandparents would do it. My grandfather was a lot nicer about it because, I was his first grandchild, so he wanted to give me a little bit of attention. But with his kids, yeah, I can see him doing that. He was establishing his personal space. Because we all know, first thing in the morning, don't touch me before I've had my coffee. In fact, don't talk to me ever. But that's the way that was established. It was a rich person's moat. You would not be able to get past without their permission. Nowadays, it's those same older people, and I'm using older in a very vague sense because some people act older, some people do not. You don't hear rap songs about, these rude MFers were ignoring me with their phone. No, you don't hear that. You hear some people complain about it, but like I said, they tend to be of a conservative mindset, and that is not a political statement. It is a statement that they are settled in their life and they have established what they want to do, and they want to protect it. Now, like I said, I know kids do all sorts of crap on the phones. It's one of the reasons, as a responsible parent, it's my job every week or two to monitor what's going on and just make sure nothing creepy is coming across. And in return, my little girl is able to block me out and establish her little personal space. Now, she's got her own bedroom. She has a door. She has ways to keep me out. And she also knows in an emergency I'm coming in and her mother's coming in, but she's allowed the luxury of establishing her personal space for herself. It bothers us when she's gone for like an hour and stuff. And as a gamer myself, I understand you can get involved in sessions. And I know my little girl is, virtually interacting with our friends. One of her friends, let's give her the name Selma. I hear, Selma, don't do that, you're going to die. Selma, don't do that, you're going to be in my way, and stuff like that. And I think it's cute, and at least I know what's happening with my little girl. It's a little bit scary. Selma, I'm going to kill you for that. And, okay, but kids do stuff like that. And the same transfers to adults. We're at work, and God forbid you're waiting for an important text message, or you want to do anything, and your boss is walking by, hands behind his back, eyes drawn and frowning towards you. Why are you checking your phone? Because I have 10 seconds, there's nothing to do, and I just got a buzz in my pocket. It's not because I like you very much. And yeah, it's an establishment of authority over your defined personal space. Because between you and your tablet, your computer, whatever it might be, your phone, you are now in your separate world. And like the newspapers of old, that's your little defense grid. Most bosses don't want you having a personal space. There's this weird attitude, and I've never understood it, that when your butt is in the seat, somehow the company magically makes money. But the second you take it over and claim it as your personal space, you're automatically not making money. Even if you just closed a $100 million deal, oh, you're not making money. You're on your cell phone. No, there's lots of downtime in a day. Even on the busiest of days, you'll find an opportunity to go to the washroom, to have a cigarette, to go get another cup of coffee. I'm just trying to think of, refill your water bottle. Just ideas I'm throwing out there that are going to have to happen no matter what. You know what? Checking your phone on the way there and back is normal. I've worked in security installations that are so high up there that if you have a phone, you have to leave it in a locker. And I totally agree with them because you're handling people's personal information. And yeah, you don't want some son of a gun in there taking pictures of the screen, listing this person's name, address, all that sort of stuff. Like it lists everything. And you know what? That was a telemarketing company that had all that information. Yes, all your information is being stolen. Well, you're kind of freely providing it in the terms of service. But that's a story for another day. I was working my way in this telemarketing company. You had to prove yourself as a telemarketer and then they'd promote you. I was going into the programming side because, to be honest, I wanted to see how that software worked. But then all of a sudden I got a job offer I could not refuse. And so you can blame me for being a former telemarketer 20 plus years ago. But you see, I actually had a plan. I wanted to see what was behind the scenes and maybe even make my own program because what they had was pretty crappy in my opinion, even for the technology of the time. It wasn't the worst in the world. And yet nobody has time for that. If you're in the job and you're answering a company and you're saying, please take me off your list. Okay, as a former boss, I'm not thrilled that you took that call, but I understand you were expecting something. And all sorts of people are using, what is that, voice over internet technology, VoIP phones. So you never know what phone number you're going to get. I had a woman call me up recently, and she was quite mad at me because she had gotten a phone call from my number. And fortunately, she was a reasonable woman because after a little bit, I said, I'm sorry I didn't call you, but this sort of thing has happened to me before. We had a little conversation. She hung up happy, and apparently my phone never called her again. But you see, that's the problem. While you are in your kingdom on your cell phone, blocking other people out, because most people don't multitask. I'm one of the people that can do 3 or 4 things at the same time. If you saw what I prepared for Christmas, at the same time on the table, I put a full, 14-pound turkey. I have no idea how big the ham was, but about the same size. A full shoulder of ham and about 4 pounds of prime rib, plus all the sides, Brussels sprouts, beans, We had appetizers, and it all came out bang, 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 and everybody was eating within a second. I'm one person. So yeah, I can multitask. So what we're saying is most people use their phones as a matter of giving themselves a defined personal space. You're supposed to be able to do this. We all have stories about you get that one phone call from the one person who's pissed off and nothing you do is going to make a difference. And it's okay to retreat into your own personal space. I used to drink a whole lot of water. I still try to. And that way I could always go to the bathroom without being questioned about it. If they said anything about it, I said, my doctor told me I have to increase my water intake. And, oh, okay. Because I know my doctor would have given me that note in a heartbeat if I asked him for it. It never came to that, but he said, yeah, you need to drink more water. Here you go. And that was even when we had phones, because then I could get up, check my phone, do whatever else, and then sit back down like I was paying attention while the lovely lady sitting to my left was literally sitting there with her phone on her desk. And they would crawl up and down her like nobody's business. Because she had the nerve to want to get away with some customers that I'm going to describe as the worst in the industry. And that's not an entire exaggeration. We had a few. I don't know why the company kept them around. But of course, the boss, who was about 10 years older than me, was one of those grumpy old men already who's, yeah, I don't have time for your cell phones. But the lady I was talking about and myself were junior in the department. The two senior people in the department, one sat in the corner, did nothing. And I don't say anything bad about him because he had the job and yeah, that's what they wanted him to do. And the elderly person, who was actually pretty cool, he didn't care if we were on our phones so long as the phones got answered and, the operations proceeded. He would even be so, if you had a question, he'd be happy to explain it to you. He would use his phone whenever he wanted. The company never looked at him because they're thinking, oh, that's an old man. He's the same as us. So he knows not to establish his own personal space. He must be using his phone for his own stuff or for professional stuff. And yeah, that happens. You get different treatment in an office just based off your age. And I was in my 40s when this was happening. So, in short, this entire conflict about phones is about responsibility and perception. The perception that you would dare usurp the tradition from the 1960s where the patriarch would have the right to separate himself from the family with the use of a physical paper wall. How dare you? And also, let's be honest, responsibility of use. I see people with phones walk into stuff because they're not paying enough attention. I've had so many conversations with kids, which is don't use your phone when you're walking across the street. I don't care what you're doing. Take the 5 seconds, cross the street, and just please be alive. See, the difference between me and I'm not saying, how dare you do that? I'm not trying to bring them down. Just think, just please come alive. We can solve anything you want as long as you're alive. And I appreciate it's a privacy gesture. And this is what worries me. It doesn't bother me so much when my little girl is playing with her friends and they're getting animated about it because I know there's at least interaction going on there. And even by herself, if she's watching a video or something, okay, but I also know that she's doing that exclusively. Did I piss her off? Is she feeling tired? That's a time for me as a parent to become invested, not to come in and take the phone away and says, you're not listening to that anymore, little girl. You better read some books or something. That's just establishing a different wall for her to put up. And that's the way parents need to start addressing this. If your parents are withdrawing into the computer, you need to pay more attention to them. And if your partner is doing it, you need to pay more attention to your partner. It's really easy to work out. But people would rather yell, scream, get upset, all those things, because it appeals to our primal nature. And you know, when you start descending into your ape brain, it's almost never the right thing to do. So, with that, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. There's a notification bell down below. Please feel free to hit it, and that way you'll know every single time we publish a new episode of the Silverlight Show. Probably not happening until the new year, but at the same token, at least then you'll be the first to know. We hope you have a fantastic